came back this go around, I kind of made a joke about Disney being our competition. He's like, no, it's Google Fiber now. Those guys showed up at my house last week. Yeah, it's Google Fiber.
Welcome back to the podcast. My name's Lance. I'm your host. This is Talking Freight with Thomas. This is a very special episode. This is our season finale. Episode 8. Couldn't have a full 10 episodes. That's fine. Doesn't bother me at all. Only a little bit. But we're here. To my left is our very famous Lee Cooper.
Hello.
Our president, Byron Hubbard. We all know him. And two very special guests. Our general manager, Robert Tyrell. And the man himself, Bo Thomas.
Tyrell.
Did he say Tyrell?
He did.
No, I said Tyrell.
No.
Did I say Tyrell?
It's recorded. You said
Playback.
Tyrell.
And our very special guest, Robert Tyrell. Here we are.
I see why there wasn't 10 episodes. We only made it to 8.
Oh, brutal. Well, gentlemen, thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys. So, Bo, first question I have for you. I was thinking about this morning, honestly. When you had yourself 3 guys in a truck, where did you think you'd be at right now? Did you think you'd be here? Did you have...
Not on a podcast. Probably in those years, probably just trying to make a living, and I think we kind of had a sense of what it could be, not to this scale, but just what doing things right could be, treating customers right or having a good company that was run well, but not. I don't think I had any visions of this, not back then.
Okay. Was it scary? Was it a scary transition to go from where you are to here?
No, I don't think so. I think it was more exciting. It was learning new skill sets, and I remember being excited. I enjoyed doing it. So no, I don't. There are scary times because you're taking risks and doing things like that. So I think it brings anxiety to it. But I think that kind of helps with the excitement that was there.
Hey, that's man quality. Take all your fears and smush them down.
I wouldn't go that far. I just don't remember being physically scared.
So tell me, how did you meet Byron?
He probably don't even remember.
I remember exactly how I met Byron. So we were hiring, who knows where we had want ads or whatever we did back in those days to try to find somebody good. But had those out. I don't know, feelers out or ad in the papers or whatever we did back then. But I remember getting a resume. I didn't recognize the name, but I looked on the resume, and Byron had actually worked for himself. I think you may have actually been currently working for yourself. And I distinctly remember thinking to myself, he's out. I don't want to hire anyone who is working for himself or has, because my impression was, well, he's got bad habits and his way of doing things, so he's not going to want to do my way of doing things, and this just isn't going to work out at all. So I remember putting it in whatever the folder was for, you can't just throw resumes away because it's too hard to find anybody that might even want to interview for a job, but I'm not calling him. So I think I went through the other 4 or 5 people, and they all came in, and it was like, well, they're terrible, so I don't. Let's go back to the folder of the people I said no to. And started working through those, and I don't remember exactly. I don't remember the questions or whatever. I remember leaving the interview saying I got to have him. I'm gonna have to make him an offer.
Well, you called one of my former bosses as a reference.
Yeah, I called him. Yeah, which I knew from the interview. I got to get him. What I was trying to do, be a good businessman. I need to follow up on his references and do all the checks and and everything. So yeah, I called Ralph, and Ralph told me he could come back to work here right now anytime. I tried hiring him back. If you hire him, you can't go wrong. So it kind of validated how I felt from the interview. So then it just came can I afford? I don't know how much money this guy wants. It's probably going to be a lot. I don't have any money, so how are we going to work this deal out? But I remember mainly taking away from it as a lesson learned. I had a preconceived notion that because he was self-employed, that he would have just some qualities, or we would knock heads, or somehow it wouldn't work alone. I distinctly remember making the mental note to myself of don't mess that up again, because it could have been that we never even ended up with him working with me. And I remember taking that away, thinking don't be that foolish again, because that could have missed out on a good opportunity.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true though. You look back at your mistakes and correct them, and you did just that. So
Just got lucky. Got lucky that I guess those first 4 or 5 people I called were terrible.
Trash.
I don't know who they were, but yeah.
Well, we just got a new service tech that was the same situation. I
He
don't
worked
know.
for himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably not going to work out very well. Statistically, that's not good.
I mean, he's really, really new, so I don't know either. But
if you're watching this, it's not you, by the
Yeah,
way. It's
no.
not you.
Nah, I'm just kidding. Again, I distinctly remember walking away with a lesson learned from that.
Yeah. And Robert's been here twice. This is his second
Yeah.
term here at Thomas.
Oh, well, actually, I like that story though. I mean,
Maybe third in the future.
yeah, it shows maturity for the company, in my opinion. You talk about as someone, hiring someone on young and training them, and then them working for a few years, and then wanting to explore their options. So they go out to a few other companies, realize
get
that
that a
it's not
lot.
as good, and they come back to Thomas. I love those stories. It shows maturity for the company and how awesome we are. Not to woo woo toot our own horn, but I just like that. So
yeah.
great. I'm glad I like that. Awesome. Cool. Tell me what you thought about Bo when you first met him, Robert.
Which time?
Oh, man.
The very first time?
Very first time.
Yeah, that's
That's
so.
a long time ago.
I think I met Bo when I first got into.
What, were you like 13? Or
Yeah, I know, right? He was a kid when he started.
So Vietnam was ending. The VHS was just getting big.
So you worked for East Coast as a counter guy.
He was 3-state supply back then.
Yeah.
3
Mhm.
states. Yeah. Just like any old typical counter guy, I guess. I don't know. Talked a lot.
Really? I guess you talk a lot now. I
Yeah.
just don't hear it very often, but
Back then I did. I was a lot younger back then.
yeah, aren't we all more chattier when we're younger?
We are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, in Bo's case, he lives in a house full of females and doesn't get to talk anymore.
Yeah, so
I'm used to just sitting in the corner quiet now.
Attaboy. There you go. I'm sure your household is happy.
That's what happened to me.
it's going to be like that for a while.
How many kids you got, Bo?
Got 3 girls.
3 girls? God, that's what I want, 3 girls. Heck yeah.
I remember when the third was announced, we were at a business meeting, and you got a text, and his demeanor changed in that meeting.
It was a surprise.
Yeah.
We the first 2 were very much planned. Like we were very,
Yeah.
we're ready. We're gonna have a kid. And the last one we weren't expecting.
So
But wouldn't trade it for the world.
he's
No,
like,
no.
Cynthia thinks she's pregnant. he just.
Not think. She sent me a picture of a test. It was kind of like when I sit in meetings, I was always very good about like phones on silent, and things like that.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, that's always been one of my pet peeves on
Yeah.
all the meetings.
Yeah.
Like, be here on time and don't have that phone on. I can't stand that. But my phone, I think I usually have my phone kind of turned down where even the face is down,
Right.
so nothing pops up. And I just happen to have it up where, like a few texts are coming through now. And, so it just popped up, from her. And yeah, so we're just in a meeting. I said pregnancy test. And it's kind of, like I remember just trying to get through the meeting.
Oh,
Just
God.
like, this needs to end. Like at that point, like I don't even know what we're talking about now. We need to wrap this up in like a couple of minutes. And it's like after the meeting, everybody was like, can I talk to you for a couple of minutes? I'm like,
No,
man,
gotta go.
I really don't want to. I need to go.
That would have been a shock.
It's always special, to get that announcement. My favorite story is about when, you find out you have kids. Usually the first one, you're with your significant other and you're planning things out, like, all right, we're going to college, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But like when the third kid comes along and it's a surprise, I always just picture the initial reaction like, yeah, I'm going to have another kid. Then, oh my God, I have to pay for this kid, like a third one. Like it's always so high, and then like immediate panic.
Yeah.
I can just only imagine what that'd be like on the third girl. So
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at our age. Like I said, we thought we were done.
Yeah.
We had planned to be done.
But y'all did great. Y'all aren't that old.
No, well, I don't know. maybe not.
are they almost in college? Or I mean, how old are your kids?
No,
Yeah.
they're 14, 12, and about to turn 7 next week.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that oof is exactly
Yeah.
the why.
I heard 14 and 12, and I was like, oh my God.
Our life was planned out, and then all of a sudden it was like, well. this
When
one's
did you
might
turn
be
into
good.
a monster?
Oh, I remember we were talking like this one's just gonna have to, obviously we didn't know it was a boy or girl, but like, there's gonna have to be a trooper. Like we've already got so much going on in our lives. I mean, there's gonna, and she did. She actually is a trooper. But yeah, we struck her along with us everywhere. Like
Yeah.
just
Heck yeah.
she's just along for the ride.
Yeah.
What do your kids want to do when they grow up? Have they expressed interest in that yet?
Oh no, not like what they want to do. Our oldest is into sports. She's kind of like me. I don't think she has any dreams of playing sports for a living. But she's all into sports. Our middle girl Caitlin is so she's like,
Who does cheer?
they've all done some cheer and stuff. Like Caitlin likes to be on stage in front of people, so she does cheer because she wants to be the center of attention.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Molly did cheer because she's athletic, so she did like the tumbling, the
Right.
gymnastics, and
Yeah.
once cheer started, like for girls, I guess unless you really stay on the gymnastics train, you start getting to where cheer's pretty and makeup and cheering,
Right.
and she doesn't care anything
Do
for
that,
that.
yeah.
So she dropped out. Yeah. And our youngest, we don't know yet. She's just now kind of hitting that age where she starts to. I think she does dance right now.
Yeah, that's usually one of
Yeah.
the things that they do when they're little. Is
Yeah.
Dance, gymnastics.
Dance and gymnastics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dance, gymnastics. I think those were some of the first two for all of ours.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Is that light blinking behind Robert?
It is. I'm so sorry.
It's bothering me.
Is it getting your eyes? Like
Yeah.
just the red light is getting.
Turn it down a little bit. It should work a little bit better. It's just old.
A quiet mouse at the table. I've never seen him.
Who, Robert?
Yeah.
So
I'm
you've
just
been.
trying to speed this up so we go to lunch.
Yeah.
I don't want to kind of delay it and keep talking.
Once I hear your stomach, I'll start wrapping it up. No, I'm kidding. So you've been not out of the game, but in the kind of the backfields for a little bit. Where do you see HVAC going in the next 10, 15 years?
Like the industry in general.
Yeah.
He's been out of the game since 2005. It's been
Not that bad.
That's why I said out of the game for a
His
little bit.
role has been a different game.
Listen, the first time I worked here, I never saw him. He never answered the phone.
That's not true. The first time you worked here, I was probably pretty heavy. There's only a few of
He
us.
pulled up with a
I was,
boat.
like, I was like, you probably don't talk about this on the golf course very much, but I just in case you had any opinions on it.
I think. I think it's as far as business and what we need. I think that kind of stuff stays very much the same. I think we're past the point of where you can do without, obviously, heating and air conditioning. I don't think about it a whole lot. The only things that come to mind is like the mini splits, the ductless systems. Other countries, that's a little bit more prevalent. I don't know why the U.S. is kind of behind on that, but I think we'll see that. I don't know what the numbers are now. I used to keep up with it, but that was the fastest growing segment of equipment for years. It's probably still the same, but I think we'll see people here get more adjusted to the idea of using ductless mini splits instead of what we've used forever. I'm not saying it'll take over, but I think it'll become more prevalent. I think like indoor air quality, I think people are starting to become a little more aware of like what the possibilities are with indoor air quality when you're like for us here, like we've known forever, like controlling humidity is just as important for us as air conditioning, at least in the
Right.
summer. The more you can get the humidity out of the house, the more you can affect how comfortable you are, just as important as the temperature. I think that the air quality as far as how clean it is, I don't know what all the best products are now. I know we have a full line of them, but the air cleaners and things have been big for a while. But it was always kind of like that extra thing maybe, someone buys or you try to sell or you really believe in it, so you try to push it a little bit. But it was just kind of like, well, we got to buy an air conditioner because ours went out. Maybe we'll do a little something. I think we'll start to see people more aware of what you can do and actually be, okay, I got to have the cold air, the hot air. Maybe I'm aware we need to do some stuff with adding and reducing humidity. But I think the air quality, like just how clean you know your air can be now. Maybe people are still adjusting to the idea of, you know, the air outside's a lot cleaner than what you're living inside your, even with the pollen and everything's crazy. I still think people kind of tend to think,
It's hard for them.
oh,
to
it's a bunch of
accept
stuff
that.
in the air I'm going to hoard up inside the
Right,
house where
right.
it's clean, and that's not at all the right idea. I mean, the
Right.
outside's always cleaner than inside your
Right.
house, except for maybe the occasions where, you know, the I don't know how, you know, what the percentage is, but very few people actually have really nice air cleaners and things, you know, in their home.
Yeah, but we're taking aspects of the outside air, bringing it into the inside
And
the
I
home.
think that's,
and
with
treat it with
ultraviolet is one of the main
ozone.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ozone's some of the main things with why it's cleaner outside, even though you may see pollen or dust or whatever. I mean, even the pollen and dust is inside your house. It's just as much too. I mean, if you don't dust for a couple of weeks or however often you're supposed to dust, I mean, you'll see what's inside your house.
I like our Ohana clean air purifier system. It talks a lot about how even the dirtiest air outside is 2 to 5 times cleaner than the air inside your home. You know.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Have you ever seen the Truman Show, the movie?
I don't know if I've ever actually sat down and watched all of it. I'm aware of what you're talking about. I think I've at least seen parts of it.
Yeah. Well, so he's Jim Carrey's being like, you know, recorded his whole life without him knowing, and so like in this giant bubble, the actors in this world have to do like sponsorships. So then he's like, oh, I want a glass of, you know, chocolate milk. She goes, oh, you mean Ovaltine? And our delicious chocolate milk made by this? As soon as he started about Ohana, I wanted to be like, oh yeah, Ohana air purifiers. This is our new UV system. I wanted to break out into commercials so bad.
But I think as an industry, as a heating and cooling industry, I think us as companies have done a poor job of educating the consumer on it. You know, it just,
I believe so.
in general, I think we do a poor job of educating. So,
I think typically what happens is you're whatever, you wake up one morning, you're laying in bed, can't sleep, or whatever happens, and you realize, okay, the system's out. You know, I'm cold, I'm hot, whatever, and you know, you certainly didn't wake up or go to bed that night thinking, you know, I'm about to spend thousands of dollars on a system. So I think whoever shows up, you know, us, any company, you know, say, oh, well, it's time to replace it. It's already, you know, 15, 20 years old or whatever. I think the mindset's kind of like, well, they really don't want to spend the money. They weren't planning on spending the money. What do we got to do just to get them back up and cooling or heating or, you know, or whatever. But I think it's a disservice, and I think lots of us have done it. Lots of people still do it, but it's a disservice when you don't actually, you know, try to at least take enough time to say, you're spending money anyway. Here's all the things that it can be, you know, and then you know, obviously it's their money, their decision, how far, how little, you know, what they want to do. But I think we've all gotten into, as an industry, gotten into the habits of, you know, well, they're not going to want to get into all that. All that stuff's expensive. They're not going to want that. They just want to get
making decisions for
Well,
the
I mean, we
customer.
never talked about ductwork forever, and that's one of the the reasons a lot of the stuff is so dirty. Is, I mean, you know, but the
It's
unit's
'cause they'll-
15, 20 years
they'll
old.
replace their unit, but they won't. You're like,
The
oh,
ductwork's
we'll
at least
just-
15,
yeah.
20 years
Right,
old. Maybe
right.
it's the second
Same-
unit in the house.
right.
Maybe the ductwork's 30 years old. And
it could be the same
certainly-
reason they've had to replace that unit 3 times. in 20
It could be
years.
what's
Yeah.
killing the unit, yeah. And it's certainly, I mean, we know how it is, and we grew up in kids putting that ductwork in. That's all I did when I was a kid. We put it in the best way we know how. But compared to how we do things now, I mean, it was nowhere near as, I mean, it wasn't sized as well. It wasn't sealed as well. I mean, it was, you know, we did the best we could, what we knew, but we just didn't know as much as we know now. And I think a lot of times we don't even have that conversation with them. Which, you know, granted, most people may say, I just got to get the unit back up and running now. But I mean, you know, at least I think people need to be aware of kind of, you know, what the situation is, what it could be, and then.
Perfect example, we had a customer not long ago bought 2 high-end systems, and he wanted new ductwork and some air cleaners, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he at least maybe
Like,
was aware as a
we never
consumer.
brought it up to him.
Okay, so shame on us for that.
Right,
But maybe he brought it up before we were getting to that part of our spiel.
Yeah,
But
yeah. The embarrassing part is he called back in. He was like, "Hey, you know, I got thinking about this, and
yeah,
I bought some top quality systems and
maybe spend some time online.
didn't even purchase a, you know, air cleaner,
Yeah.
and I hooked it to this old 30-year-old ductwork. I want new ductwork. And I want, you know, indoor air
Yeah,
products.
there's so much more information now. Probably,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, if I were spending whatever, if I was spending, you know, a lot of money on whatever, car and air conditioner, boat, whatever, you know, lawnmower, Our natural tendencies get online now a little bit, kind of do a little bit of checking, hopefully
Yeah.
maybe even like, I know I'm not in the podcast, but if it's stuff just sharing information, maybe one day we reach even more people and they're able to see it. But yeah, they probably just got online and started,
Yeah.
realizing, I'm sure, through some forums and things like that, hey, I ought to be thinking a little bigger picture than just, just the units.
Right.
Yeah. And that may be why like the ductless mini splits and things may continue
I like
to
that
grow.
idea. I hope that does catch
Takes
on.
that stuff out of the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
what you do with the air cleaners. I don't know if we really thought a whole lot because we're so used to putting those in the duct
You can
systems.
put them in.
Yeah. They make them.
I mean, they have things
Okay.
you can plug in your wall now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they're better than what it used to be. Like
Yeah,
we see
they
a few
do.
people with like those little things you buy from Sharper Image or whatever. We're like, if that's an issue, let's talk.
Yeah,
that's
right,
not
yeah.
doing anything like that.
But I think these do up to like 600 square foot. Like,
Okay.
So
They're catching a whole room at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those still around? Sharper Images?
I'm sure they are.
I don't know. Is that who made those things? Those little air cleaners, the little towers that would sit in the corner that people would.
I don't know.
They're with
there's a bunch
Sears
of
and
those
Circuit
different
City
kinds,
now.
yeah.
I remember going in homes or offices and things like that, working on units and stuff,
Yeah.
and I would see that and be like, if you're worried about, cleaner air, like, even back then we had stuff. It wasn't as good as what we
Right.
have now, but it was better than those things.
It makes sense. Sometimes it needs a little.
That might be something we need to look at, just like a little single room plug-in type thing.
I mean, I think for the cost, you can go with the Ohana and just do the whole system, do the whole house.
Well,
That's always made the most sense.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
It works a lot better than anything you could buy through just retail stores and stuff.
I mean, I
But
think
you're
the-
affecting the entire home doing it that way.
Right. The plug-ins are great, if you work in an office and, the office building doesn't have any,
why not sell it?
yeah. Or your personal use. I have one in my truck,
Well,
campers.
like back when we were under COVID and everything, I was trying to find something like that I could send my in-laws, up there where they live in Maryland. I want something that could. And I just couldn't. I was on Amazon obviously, and I just couldn't decide, what was legit or what would really work well for them. But
So what I
but
think
it would have been like a little plug-in
Yeah.
device,
Yeah.
just kind of like a.
So when I think it comes to units like air ducts and then Ohana's cleaner, I think a salesperson who expresses the longevity of the situation to refer back to their current timeline helps out. And what I mean by that is investing in a new unit, sure, it's anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000, but you're investing in your future for so long. Like Ohana air purifier, are you going to notice it the next day? Probably not. The next 30 years, are you going to be so much healthier? Absolutely. And I think a salesperson is going to be the guy that or someone who's knowledgeable can help relay this information to people, or our customers and just the general public. I think that's going to be a big pushing factor for that. Hey, you just bought this $10,000 crane unit. Want to get your ductwork replaced? No, it's $300 or $500, whatever. You just spend this much money. Make sure. I used to be dumb not too long ago. I used to have a $900 light on an $85 light stand until another filmmaker was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm on a budget."
Yeah.
He goes, "You're on a budget until your stuff breaks. You're on a budget. You're on a budget until your
Almost
stuff
a-
breaks." Yeah. So invest in the little stuff to help out your big stuff, and that's kind of the same boat,
Yeah.
I think for us, though, I think it's a sticker shocker, You take a homeowner, a roof. You can see your roof getting old. Maybe you're missing some shingles.
Mm-hmm.
Windows, you can see old, your windows are getting old. You can see things wearing out on your house. I don't think the homeowners pay too much attention to the HVAC and for sure the duct system.
No.
So when something does happen, they go from not having a heads up whatsoever to all of a sudden, wow, for one, they think they can get it fixed for a few $100.
Right.
And then it come out and it's a compressor or it's leaking or, we're changing refrigerant and you got a leak, it doesn't make sense to repair it. It's a $3,000 repair. And now they're hit all of a sudden with that $6,000 to $12,000 replacement.
Right.
And I think is a struggle for us because they just don't see it coming.
It is.
Your car, is something that you use every day. You can see it getting old. Maybe you can see the repairs. You see the roof getting damaged. What's so funny?
This thing is looking at me now, and
Oh.
I was just like,
Oh, it's been looking at you the whole time. You just now noticed it.
no, it hasn't been on. The little
Screen?
The screen is on now.
Oh, huh.
Do we have sound this time?
We do. Sounds good. Everything's.
You know, when we did our first one, there was no sound. Like you could just hear us talking. We had all the microphones, everything set up, nothing was turned on.
No!
We come a long way.
Well, you know what
Yeah.
I wonder about is this potential raging financial crisis with the banks and just everything. How that's going to affect. You
Oh,
know.
that's been fun to watch on.
I feel like people
the
are
Joe
already
Rogan podcast,
feeling it.
yeah.
Like if like when Brian goes out, if people are acting a certain way, like I wonder if there's like a trend, like if he's seeing. I feel like we used to go out and people be like, yeah, I want it, sign away, and install, blah blah blah. But now I feel like they're being more cautious.
I think it plays a part, but as far as the bank stuff go, the government's just going to bail them out, and we're going to end up paying it, the bill of the taxpayers.
Yep.
So
Probably.
that's what
Seems to be our trend.
that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I think the economy plays
Because
a part in people purchasing.
The
though.
world has
Maybe
been
more
through
than
a lot of.
add-ons. Because the air conditioner itself, the hot and cold air, we're past that point to where
They have to have it. So.
I mean, there's
We just might start accepting Bitcoin.
not Bitcoin.
Please no. Yeah.
No. I slide that in there.
But
You know,
maybe,
somebody
maybe
brought up
do
the
some more
banks.
repairs.
Well, I mean, I think the world has been through a lot, or the country's been through a lot, even in the last 3 years. From the time COVID started to now, we're having it just. I think people have a different mindset about spending their money.
Maybe, and maybe people just buy. It may affect it, but I think air conditioning is not like dinner or the movies or clothes, new clothes or.
Oh yeah, we're.
But there's a
spoiled.
lot of stuff like when you go through your budget. Everybody's your home. There's a lot of
Budget.
things where you're like, I got to cut the budget.
Budget.
Right.
It's like turn the air conditioner off may sound like okay till you do it, and it's like okay, that's
Yeah.
not.
That's not
We'll
happening.
put that in running water right back on the list, and look a little farther down the sheet to find something we can trim out.
But that doesn't mean they're not going to shop us or shop anybody. Get multiple. I think we've seen more people getting multiple quotes than we have in a long time.
Yeah, I would think so. Well, I think there's just so much more access. There's just so much more information.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
it may affect some of the air cleaners, some of the indoor air quality stuff, though. If people are a little, we're all kind of the same way. If you got to buy something, maybe
The extras.
yeah, maybe just hold off on those because they can be done. 2 years later, or maybe
Right.
if you get over the,
Yeah, I used to say
you
that.
digested the fact you just woke up and lost $8,000 today.
Yeah.
Something you can't show off to your
Right.
friends.
Right.
I'm still kind of partial to this. I've never called anybody over to my house. So,
Look at these aluminum
Your yard
coils.
looks
Yeah.
pretty nice. Walk around the side of the house and well, I got something I'll show you.
But I think the bigger issue in that though is us not educating the consumer. I think so. I think that's a bigger factor than the
I
economy.
think as an industry, we've always been pretty.
Well, and too,
Pretty
like
bad
when
on
we
that.
had that meeting yesterday, and Brian was talking about, it sounds like we are educating the customer, and then they're going to get 2 more quotes now that they know they've been educated. Then now they go find the cheaper route.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's always just
That's sales though.
I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
kind of part of it.
Need a silver tongue. You guys all looked at me at the same time. That was so. What do you got next? There's half a second of awkward silence. What do you do? A question.
So we don't have like a list of topics or anything. Or,
I've been
what
asking
do you
that
know?
for a couple days now. Don't look at me. It's my first time.
He's our podcast guy.
We normally do.
Well, so this goes a few ways. Like, hey, Byron, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. Pick some questions, and then I'll pick some questions. And he goes, no, yeah. And then he'll send me all of his questions that he wants to do. I'm like, cool. Well, this is what we're doing. I'm like, we should have just done this from the start.
Well, you've noticed the past few weeks, I kind of just let you try to.
Yeah,
Dude.
fail. Yeah, he just lets me hang myself. No, I'm kidding. I do
not
have.
behind him struggle.
I do have one last question. It's always inspiring to see someone come, not from nothing, but from the ground up. Build something incredible. And if you If you had one piece of advice to give to someone who's like a 22-year-old kid that's motivated and hungry, what would you tell them? Like, hey, if you want to start your empire, this is what I would do first, or this is what is most important in that aspect.
That's an easy answer.
Well, it's not for you, Byron. I'm kidding.
I think if you have access to
Please
some
don't fire me.
capital, that can make the road a whole lot smoother and not quite so uphill. I think I distinctly remember having the attitude, and I think no matter what your situation is, this may be something that's absolutely necessary. I remember having the attitude that this is going to work. I don't know quite yet how hard it's going to be, how many hours I'm going to work. I don't know what all I'm going to have to do. I knew it would be a lot, and it was. But I think you have to have that attitude that, like, I distinctly remember, like, I'm not gonna step out here and do this, because I was very nervous. I mean, I tried to, I grew up working for my grandfather, and then when we met at 3 states, I was kind of like, man, this is a hard way to make a living, because we didn't make any money back then, and it was awful working conditions. So it was like, there's got to be a better way than this. And I was like, I'll go work for one of these supply houses or a manufacturer doing sales, because I'm personable. I like dealing with people and stuff. So that'll.
And you didn't do that long either.
I was there for like a year and a half or something. The sales, the territories and stuff I wanted. In the corporate world, it didn't suit me. But my options were that or going to business for myself. And I was like, I definitely don't want to go into business for myself. I'm too scared to do that. So I did that for like a year and a half, and then. That wasn't working out. I was not happy. I could not see myself there, certainly not 10, 15, 20 years down the road or anything, or doing it for a living, for a career. So I started thinking about, am I going to go out and do this on my own? I remember being scared to death. But when I finally did it, I distinctly remember, like, I'm not going to announce to my friends and family and people that know me that I'm going to go into business for myself and not make it. Like, I don't know how hard it's going to be, but I'm not going to have to go look at people and say I tried and failed. Like, I distinctly remember I'm not doing that. That's not going to happen. And I think, maybe I don't know. Maybe if you're a lot better at it than I was. I knew nothing about business back then. I mean, I was just an air conditioning guy. I didn't know anything about anything. Never been to college or anything. So, for me at least, that was very much necessary to get through the learning curve and
Because you had to change your whole mindset, though.
I was pretty aggressive. Everything I did, I was always like, I'm going to be number one. Selling the units and installing
the units to, then running the company and the business. That
didn't start for years down there, because it was just self-employed, and it was just me. I mean, I had my truck that I didn't own. I was making payments on it, but I had me and my little half-ton extended cab pickup truck that we started in. So the business skill sets, those were maybe like 5 years down the road or something, because it was just me coming in, and and then you kind of hire some of your friends and your family, or you meet somebody, and can you work 20 hours a week or
that's
work?
About the time we came through.
I think so. Yeah. As far as the first time of actually starting to, have a few legitimate people around that were actually part of it.
I think it goes back to the mindset, though.
Yeah.
We had maybe 1 install crew, 2 technicians, and I remember you saying, our competition is not other heating and air guys. It's Disney. That's our competition. We gotta outdo them. And
as far as like the customer service and the mindset of having a business.
And then, of course,
we were far away.
Yeah. Came back this go around, I kind of made a joke about Disney being our competition. He's like, no, it's Google Fiber now. Those guys showed up at my house last week. Yeah, it's Google Fiber.
It probably was. I don't want to promote them, but I want to say that may have been like a good experience or something with them. I remember going to Disney, taking the girls to Disney one time, coming back.
And you're like, whoa.
And back then, and I'm not a big Disney buff,
Right.
but a lot of my wife, my kids, a lot of my family is. But I remember the customer service, like how it's all about the experience. And I remember coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Byron,
we had a meeting.
Like we
had a meeting about it. Yeah,
we're terrible. I just went to where they do customer service, and we've got a lot of room for improvement. But yeah,
but I think it was that type of mindset.
Yeah,
that's what it took.
Yeah. I could see me going to Disney with my kids. Like, what was your favorite ride? It's like the bus ride back to the hotel on the last day with the air conditioning.
It's really kind of sick, but I mean, that was part of the enjoyment and the excitement. At first, it was just self-employed because I just needed to make some money, and I felt like there was nowhere I could go. Actually, I remember like there's nowhere I could go work where I'm going to be happy. Nobody's really doing it like the way that I think it ought to be done or could be done, and I was like, I don't know, like, but if there had been like a company in town back then that was like just rock stars, I would have done the same thing. That it was my, kind of my mentality. I'm gonna go work for them. I'm gonna be the best guy there, and I'm gonna be the, not necessarily the owner, but I'm gonna be the boss, the manager or whatever. But there just wasn't anywhere back then. I mean, some of those companies are still around. Some of them are doing really well. But back then, I mean, nobody was. I mean, it was still a bunch of very much mom and pop, not very educated, not doing things as well as they could be done as far as just the quality of the work and and things like that. But yeah, I would have done that for sure. But so when I went into business, just my gears were always turning. That was the exciting part of it. It was just always, what can we be doing? What can we be working on? What can be better?
Me and Robert always have a conversation about you, and we're still trying to figure out to this day if you were just that smart or you just that lucky.
I'm not going to answer that.
So can we get that? Can we get that answer today on record, please?
Certainly a little bit of both.
That's awesome.
I think it takes both.
Yeah, I would agree.
It takes a little bit of both to make it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got time for one more question before we go to lunch. Robert, do you have anything, sir?
I don't have anything. Other than what taco.
Do you have any questions for the man over here, Lee?
I do not. No.
All right, Byron, I need one last question for you.
If it's down to him, this is going to be like personal or something.
That's what I was
We worked
hoping.
together way too long.
It's either going to be me, what's your craziest story in this business, or Byron.
I'm sure they have lots of crazy stories,
Yeah.
but they're not for
Isn't
the
it nothing
podcast.
crazy? I mean, at what point did you really see, or did you know this was going to be successful? What went off to you saying, yeah, this is gonna
question.
make it?
As I said before, I distinctly always remember having the attitude, I'm going to do whatever it takes for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
But now that was not like kind of the things we have going on now. Oh man, I remember like we've all had, pretty much everybody at this table of, we know we're not doing it perfect, so there's got to be something we can be doing better. I'm still a little pleasantly shocked, surprised at just, I'm not around all the time that much anymore. So when I do come in, seeing how things have gone. I mean, it's like, if you're doing things, if you're always just saying, I know we're not perfect, we can be doing something better. Like, where's our weakest link we can be working on, whatever that is.
What are we missing?
Yeah, we've always got that list of, man, here's the things that really just, we need to be working on. What's the one we're the farthest off on, whether it's how we answer phones or, dry bands or what, whatever. But so you always feel like it's always moving up. Since I'm not involved in day-to-day anymore, I think sometimes it's kind of like, when you come in and see a few things or hear a few things, you just see how people are, like, I think people like working for you better than they did me. They certainly seem happier whenever I come around these days, but there's times you come in, everybody's like in a good mood, so it kind of feels like, okay, things are rocking and rolling pretty good. Everybody, I know they're working hard. I know, I've been out there in the sun, the attics, but if their attitudes are this good, then, something must be going pretty good. I do remember when we bought an ice maker.
The ice machine.
The
We made it.
We made it.
I always love, like, when you feel like
We made it.
we're somebody.
This is it!
We bought our first commercial ice machine, so when you get all your waters in your cooler because it's 110 degrees outside, you can just go in there and scoop out as much ice as you want. I just remember. These things cost thousands of dollars.
And it was used.
It was used. Thousands of dollars.
It was used.
And my granddad had to fix it every Wednesday. I do remember, like, I think I remember standing back there with you, kind of,
We're there now.
Well, this is going to blow your mind.
You didn't see this day coming, did you? I told you we kept working hard one day. We got 550 pounds of ice at our disposal.
Well, this might blow your mind. We're on our second one, and it was new.
See, we're still moving on up.
But now it was a new display that had been sitting around for a couple years, so we hadn't made it to like showroom new yet.
We're still about to scratch and dent. Baby steps.
It makes ice.
Baby steps. If we don't have to fix it every week like that old thing we had, then it's a win.
It's along those lines. Every time we move to a place, we're like, yeah, this will last us a good 10 years. And we're talking 2 to 3. We're busting at the seams too.
I had this conversation last week. I was on a trip, and something came up, and I was like, "No, we usually lease places." And they're like, "Why don't you buy?" I'm like, "Well, there's nothing wrong with buying buildings and stuff like that." But I remember a business coach, a mentor. We both worked with him a long time ago. And when I said, "We got to buy," we're throwing money away. Renting these buildings, leasing these buildings. And he said, you can buy if you want to, but you need to ask yourself, are you in the air conditioning business, or do you want to be in the commercial real estate business as well? I was like, well, I don't know. I don't want to be in commercial real estate. But just saying, we need to buy, And I was having this conversation when someone was asking my opinion on this. I said last week I was on a trip, and I told them the same story. I said, there's nothing wrong with buying and owning, but you are taking on more headaches. It may take some of your focus away from your core, things that you need to be working on. And I said, and every place we've had, every shop we've had, and we've moved several times now, and it's a headache every stinking time, and it seems like it always works out like, we're going to do it in like July, when we're swamped, that's the time that should be fine. We're going to do it best time. But every place we go look at, you walk in, you look at it, you measure up the squares like, this will last forever. Like, we'll be able to be here forever. Yeah. And commercial leases are generally 5-year leases. Mm-hmm. And on about year 3 of every one of them, it's like, this is, we're going to have to leave. Like, we're busting at the seams here. Yeah. And then luckily, a few of them have been like, they like the same landlord, the same people owned a couple of buildings. So it seems like at least twice now, we were still in our first, lease, and we're like, we got to have more space, we got to have more parking, we got more people. And they were able to say, well, we'll knock down a wall, we'll add a suite, or you can take this other building, or whatever it is. So we were able to kind of not have to live out 5 years in any building that we've been in. But if we had, it would have been, I think every building we've been in, we've built mezzanines and put up fences and parking lots. Like every place we've been, when we leave, landlords are like, you can rent anything you want from us. We're redesigning and adding everything we can to cram as much stuff as we can, as many offices as we can in any building.
We've done that here.
Have you been out back?
I know I made a few notices on the parking lot and some of the screens and some of the fencing and stuff like that. That's kind of still one of those things like you pull in. It's like everything's looking good. I remember telling Buyer a long time ago. I had a manager at Krispy Kreme Donuts. We were doing work for them. We were maintaining all their stuff, and he travels the country. I'm not knocking the Krispy Kreme here because I love Krispy Kreme Donuts, but his job was to go to stores that weren't really performing that great and go in and get them into shape. So he'd come in and spend a year or two working, get everything straightened back up. And this was a long time ago, so I don't know who all was working at Krispy Kreme back then, but I'm not knocking them. But I was talking to him one day. We were fishing buddies. We fished a lot. And he was a very sharp business guy, and I was always trying to talk to people who were sharp, especially about business, because I was learning. Back then, I was trying to learn all those skill sets. And you still always want to learn stuff. So if I'm around successful people, I'm trying to, pick their brain. Yeah, trying to learn, from them while I've got them. And he told me, certainly in the restaurant business, since he was there, that I can walk into any restaurant. Doesn't matter if it's Krispy Kreme or a steakhouse. I can walk into any one of them. I can walk in the bathroom. I can tell you by the shape of that bathroom how well that company's run.
Really? And
I remember coming into Byron and telling him, I was like, you don't have to be a restaurant. It's just the details. It's if you're on top of the details and you're not just saying, well, it's all right. But if you're just like always like, no, it doesn't look, it shouldn't be that way. That can be better. That should be clean. This should be put up. That should be done that way. And you're like, doesn't mean we can fix everything right now, but if you're just always like, that needs to be better, we can be doing better, it's like, And I remember telling him, I was like, you can tell that from any business. You walk in the bathroom and tell right away how well it's being run, how well the boss, the manager is. And so there's been times that I come in and we use the restroom while I'm here. I come out and buyers probably telling you, I'm meeting Bo on Tuesday. Go through all the bathrooms.
Make sure we have coffee cups.
Get coffee running and clean the bathroom. That's the only thing he cares about. He's gonna look in the parking lot. But no,
mop the floors.
Yeah, clean the floor. But really those little things and there's like I said, I'm not here that much anymore. So when I walk in, it's just those types of things is what I notice. I'm like, things are unless y'all really are having the day before I come in, like cleaning everything. I'm like, that's how things are, it's not perfect, there's room for improvement, but things are working well because the details are if we're doing that, then hopefully when we're at somebody's house or whatever, we're not tracking mud in, not smoking cigarettes inside their house, not kicking their dog, not leaking oil all over their drive. Hopefully we're just doing the little details. That just shows you're on top of things. As far as I can tell, everything runs pretty good around here these days.
Do you want to buy an Ohana? I didn't even kick your dog, man. Okay.
And we mop our floors.
Look at our bathrooms.
Yeah. We had one of our worst months we've ever had since I've been here. And Bo comes out about it. He's like, good job on the bathroom. Biggest thing is like, where's the coffee cups? You can hear him.
But, I don't remember when that was, but say the numbers are off or something, or something's just not there. Just saying it's always, sales and cost and, blah, 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 all the business side of things. But if you're doing the details and the processes right, it's kind of, things ebb and flow a little bit and everything. But it's like when you walk into someplace, if you walk in to eat somewhere and the bathroom's trash, the floors are dirty, the people come to take your orders are horrible, you're like, this food's not going to be good. This is already, I hadn't ordered anything and I can already tell I don't like this place. Yeah. And statistically, you would think the food's probably going to be awful too, because obviously they don't care that much about how they're doing things here. They're just kind of going through the motions. And
I remember the styrofoam cups. That was like 2 years ago. You left
there on Wells?
Immediately we ordered like 2 restaurant-sized boxes.
Yeah, it's like how can
we still have?
How do we not have it? Well, somebody might have even been you.
It may have been.
You've done a lot of purchasing stuff through the year. Through the years. Somebody one time, and I don't remember if it was cups for the water fountain or it was coffee cups. But I came in and we'd done one of those. Like, we got to make sure there's no reason to run out of styrofoam coffee cups. There's just no reason to. We've had some tight years, but we've never had we can't buy coffee cups, And I don't remember which building it was or what office, but I remember coming in. And I was getting water or coffee, looking for cups, and there's a box of them there, and I pull them out, and there's these little bitty.
Scott Bowen. That was not me.
Okay.
That was Scott.
Hey, but he learned a lot from you. So what? How big were the?
They're little because I use them for
Mouthwash.
That's what size they would be. Like they were supposed to go like a dentist office.
Those little energy shots that I mix the powder and water in? It's perfect size just to take a shot.
I think we were just somebody was drilling him on there's no reason to run in it, so he just went on to. Whatever staples.
I think we.
Here's 1,000 right here.
Big huge box of them, big sleeves with these little bitty
There's
cups.
your cups, buddy.
I think we threw them away because what are we going to do with them?
If you were going to drink water out of them, you would work up a sweat just trying to drink water out of the water fountain. Those little things.
But we probably did run out of styrofoam cups. But I don't drink coffee, so it's like I'm never in there really looking
There were
to
6
supply.
back there yesterday when I went.
6.
What are you looking at me for?
That's purchasing.
Sounds like management issue.
Exactly.
Well, these have been some great stories, and we appreciate you having on the podcast. We knew it was kind of up in the air if you wanted to do this or not, so I thank you for this. So
Yeah.
Absolutely, I've enjoyed it.
heck yeah, it's been a great time. So, moral of the story: attention to details, stay motivated, and you'll be successful.
Clean bathroom.
Clean the bathrooms.
And clean your bathrooms. Real quick funny story. So, and then we'll go. So you're talking about going into a place, the floor's dirty, the bathroom's dirty, people aren't happy to see you, and usually the food's bad. That's true in every single instance except one.
Where?
Now-
what
That's
is
where
it?
we're going for lunch.
Yeah.
No, well, no, this is just a joke. I'm just literally telling jokes at this
Oh,
point.
okay.
You go to a taco truck, right? And it's dirty, right? The guy cooking the food smoking a cigarette, and he doesn't want you there because you're white. That'll be the best dang taco you've had in your freaking life, I'm telling you. That'll be the best food you've ever had. All right, that's it.
All right. Tacos for lunch.
Tacos for lunch. Hey. All right, this has been our season finale of season 1 of the Talking Trades with Thomas podcast. My name is Lance, your host, and we want to say thank you for watching and stay tuned. Please visit www.coolhuntsville.com for any more information, and we'll see you next season. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.